This video is about she stood near the bus stop and a billionaire made her laugh. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The rain had been relentless, a dreary curtain that blurred the city and its people, transforming the world into a watercolor painting of greys and blues. Claire stood beneath the tattered awning of a bus stop, her umbrella a futile shield against the persistent downpour. She was just shy of 30, with a cascade of chestnut hair pulled into a loose bun, the damp weather causing stray wisps to curl defiantly around her face. She was lost in thought, peering down the street, hoping against hope that the bus would arrive before she turned into a human sponge. The day had been long and filled with tedious meetings at the marketing firm where she worked. Each hour had felt longer than the last, and all she wanted now was to retreat to her cozy apartment with a well-worn book and a cup of chamomile tea. As she shifted her weight from one foot to the other, her thoughts wandered to the seminar scheduled for next week. Would it be another opportunity to impress her boss, or just another chance to remind her how insignificant she felt in the grand scheme of things? A sigh escaped her lips as she shook her head, trying to dispel the clouds of self-doubt that loomed larger than the storm above. Suddenly, a sleek black car pulled up beside her, the engine purring like a contented cat. The window slid down, revealing a man with tousled dark hair and piercing blue eyes that sparkled with mischief. He wore a tailored navy blazer that hinted at wealth without screaming at the hint of sophistication that came naturally to him. "Excuse me, is this where I catch the bus to Wonderland?" he asked with a playful smirk. "I hear it is quite the ride." Claire blinked, momentarily thrown off guard. "I think you might be a bit lost." She arched an eyebrow, her lips curling into a tentative smile despite the absurdity of his question. "Lost? Never," he replied, his voice smooth and inviting. "I just prefer alternative routes." He gestured broadly, as if indicating that the entire city was his playground. "I am Nathaniel Gray, by the way." "Claire," she replied, her curiosity piqued. "And I am not really sure if we in Wonderland are more like a very soggy reality." Nathaniel chuckled, his laughter rich and contagious. "Fair point, but soggy realities can sometimes lead to the most interesting adventures." He leaned forward slightly, his eyes locking onto hers. "What is your adventure today?" "I am just trying to get home," Claire admitted, feeling an unexpected flutter in her stomach. "The bus is notoriously late, and I've had enough of this weather." "Then let me be your knight in shining armor. Hop in, I can give you a ride." His invitation hung in the air, tantalizing but fraught with danger. Her heartbeat quickened, a mix of excitement and caution. This is the kind of moment her mother had warned her against, a stranger in a suit offering a ride. Yet something about his presence felt magnetic, the way his eyes danced with an easy charm. "What do you think? Is it a trap?" he teased, his tone light as he leaned back in his seat, arms crossed. "I promise I don't bite unless you ask nicely." Claire couldn't help but laugh, the tension from the day melting away. "You'll have to do better than that if you think I'll get in a car with a total stranger." "Touch," he replied, though his expression darkened slightly as if her skepticism struck a nerve. "But if I am not mistaken, you could use a little magic in your life." Claire hesitated, her instincts pricking at the back of her mind. Yet his gaze held hers, a silent promise of something more, potential laughter, connection, maybe even adventure. "All right, but if you try anything funny, I have a very sharp pen in my bag," she said, half joking, half serious. "Noted," he replied, grinning as he opened the passenger door for her. "I'll behave." As she slid into the plush leather seat, she couldn't ignore the lingering doubt. Her mind raced with warnings about safety and trusting strangers. Yet the thrill of breaking her routine, even for a moment, was intoxicating. The scent of cedar and citrus filled the car, an unexpected combination that put her at ease. Nathaniel turned the radio on, a soft jazz tune enveloping them in a cocoon of warmth. "So, Claire, tell me about your world. What is it like working in marketing?" "It is tedious most of the time," she admitted, glancing out the window as the rain streaked down the glass. "It is hard to feel creative when you are buried under spreadsheets and deadlines." "Sounds like a nightmare. I am more of a free spirit myself," he said, his tone shifting to something more serious. "I run a tech startup. It is chaotic but exhilarating." "Tech startup?" Claire raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "That sounds fancy." "Fancy is one way to put it. Chaotic and exhausting is more accurate," he replied with a wry smile. "But I love it. It is like playing chess, only with higher stakes and sometimes real money on the line." "Chess? I can say I am great at strategy games," Claire admitted, surprised by how easy it was to converse with him. "I tend to zig when I should zag." Maybe you just need the right partner to help you navigate the board, he suggested, his gaze becoming more intense, almost daring her to challenge him. Is that a proposal for a game of chess? She teased, her heart racing at the implication beneath his words. Maybe, he replied, his tone playful yet suggestive. I am curious to see how you play. The conversation flowed smoothly, punctuated by laughter and the occasional comfortable silence. Each word exchange seemed to draw them closer, the space between them charged with an undeniable chemistry. Claire found herself leaning in, captivated not just by his charm, but by the sincerity that peeked through his bravado. But beneath the surface, doubt crept back in. Who was he really? A billionaire playboy? A man hiding behind the lavish lifestyle? Each question lingered as they sped through the rain-soaked streets, but she pushed it aside, allowing herself to enjoy this unexpected moment. As they pulled up to her apartment building, Nathaniel parked and turned to her, the mood shifting slightly. I know this was a spontaneous adventure, but I do like to see you again, Claire, perhaps without the rain. Her heart fluttered in her chest, the thrill of possibility mingling with a flicker of apprehension. I am not sure. Just coffee, he interrupted gently, his expression earnest. No pressure, just two people figuring out their next move on the chessboard of life. Claire studied him, searching for any trace of insincerity, but all she found was an earnest glimmer in his eyes. All right, coffee sounds good. The break? He grinned, the tension easing back into lightness. I'll text you then, so we can plan our next adventure. Before she could respond, he leaned in closer, capturing her attention entirely. Just remember, Claire, you'll never know how far a little spontaneity can take you. With that, he opened the door and stepped out, the rain continuing to fall serenely around them. As she watched him walk away, she felt an unfamiliar flutter of excitement in her chest. This day, which had begun so drearily, had turned into something extraordinary, and Claire couldn't shake the feeling that their paths crossing was just the beginning. They awoke the next morning to the gentle patter of rain on her window, a sound that had once been soothing but now felt like an omen. The lingering thrill from her unexpected encounter with Nathaniel Gray gnawed at her mind. She had spent the night tossing and turning, battling the excitement that bubbled in her chest and the skepticism rooted deep within her. Over the past few months, she had built a wall around herself, protective and impenetrable. After a difficult breakup a year ago, the thought of letting someone in felt like an act of recklessness. Yet, Nathaniel disrupted that carefully constructed fortress with his effortless charm and teasing remarks. The memory of his blue eyes, sparkling with mischief, flashed through her mind, and her heart raced. Claire shook her head as she slid out of bed and made her way to the kitchen, determined to drown out her thoughts with the comforting routine of brewing coffee. She fumbled with the coffee grounds, her hands slightly trembling as she replayed their conversation from the day before. Just coffee, she whispered to herself, reciting his words like a mantra. Standing there, with the rich aroma enveloping her, she debated whether she should text him first. What would she say? Hey, it's Claire. Thanks for the ride. How is your day? The thought felt absurdly casual, and she felt a blush creeping onto her cheeks. Shouldn't it be more flirty? I am ready to take on Wonderland if you are. She shook her head again, embarrassed by her own imaginings. The coffee gurgled to a stop, breaking her reverie. As she poured herself a steaming mug, her phone buzzed on the counter, jolting her heart into a rapid dance. She hesitated, a wave of panic rising in her gut. What if it was Nathaniel? What would she say? Or worse, what if it wasn't he? With a deep breath, she reached for her phone, her fingers trembling as she glanced at the screen. A message from Nathaniel lit up her day. Good morning, Claire. Despite the dreary weather, I hope you are ready for an adventure. Coffee today. A smile crept onto her face, her heart fluttering in response. Yes, she typed, her thumb hovering over the send button. I do love that. She added a winking emoji for good measure, feeling a rush of boldness. She had barely finished her coffee when her phone buzzed again. Perfect. How about 2 p.m. at the cafe on 5th? I hear that's known for its pastries. Claire glanced at the time. It was only 10 in the morning, and already the anticipation was electrifying. Sounds great. I'll see you then. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The clock seemed to move at a snail's pace as she prepared for her date. She picked out her outfit with care, opting for a soft, cream-colored sweater that hugged her figure just right and a pair of well-fitted jeans. She applied just a touch of makeup, enough to enhance her features, but not so much that she felt like a stranger looking back at her in the mirror. As she waited, she found herself pacing the small living room, anxiety mixing with excitement. She wondered about Nathaniel's life. Did he have a string of women waiting for him? Was he the kind of man who flitted from one adventure to another without a care? The thought left her feeling hollow, a wave of jealousy creeping in. She chastised herself. She didn't even know him beyond a brief encounter. Finally, the clock struck 2 and Claire headed out, the rain having faded to a light drizzle. The cafe was just a few blocks away as she found herself walking briskly, a mix of nervous energy and anticipation propelling her forward. As she entered the cafe, the rich scent of coffee and pastries enveloped her. Nathaniel was already there, seated at a cozy corner table, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on her. His face broke into a wide grin, and Claire felt her heart skip a beat. "You made it," he exclaimed, standing to greet her, his eyes glinting with a masked delight. "I was beginning to think I'd have to order a pastry for myself and eat it in solitude." "Not a chance," Claire replied, her cheeks warming under his gaze. "I wouldn't let you suffer alone." He gestured for her to sit, and as she settled into her chair, she felt the comfortable tension that had sparked between them yesterday return. "So, tell me, what kind of adventure are you in the mood for today?" he asked, leaning in slightly, his tone teasing. "Something thrilling yet low stakes," Claire replied, her heart racing. "Maybe we can save the world from bland coffee choices." Nathaniel chuckled, a sound that sent a pleasant shiver down her spine. "I like how you think, and I promise to make your coffee experience unforgettable." As they scanned the menu, Claire couldn't help but steal glances at him. The way he focused on her, the subtle way he leaned closer to listen intently, it was intoxicating. But she caught snippets of doubt creeping in. Was this just charm? Or was there something real beneath? "How is your startup going?" she asked, willing herself to steer the conversation to safer waters. "Busy as ever," he replied, a hint of weariness flickering behind his smile. "We're relaunching a new app next month that I am really excited about, but with the pressure comes the fun, right?" "You really do love what you do," Claire observed, her heart warming at his enthusiasm. "I can hear it in your voice." "Yeah, it is a challenge, but I thrive on it," he admitted, pausing as the server arrived with their coffees and a plate of pastries. "Speaking of challenges, you should try the cinnamon roll. It is like a warm hug for your taste buds." As he pushed the plate toward her, their fingers brushed, and Claire felt a jolt of electricity surge through her. She quickly pulled her hand back, her heart racing at the unexpected intimacy. "I'll take your word for it," she said, trying to brush off the moment, but the hesitation lingered. Nathaniel picked up a pastry, taking a generous bite. He declared, his eyes closing in delight. "You have to try this, it is a game changer." Claire laughed at his enthusiasm, and as she reached for her own, she felt a soft warmth wash away her earlier doubts. The conversation flowed effortlessly, filled with laughter and playful banter, a delightful dance of words that pulled them closer. However, just as she began to feel comfortable, her phone buzzed on the table. The message was from her friend Jenna, and as Claire glanced at the screen, the smile faded. "Hey, are you free tonight? I could use a go last night." "Everything okay?" Nathaniel asked, noticing the shift in her demeanor. "Just my friend," Claire replied, trying to regain her composure. "She is wanting to hang out later." "Sounds like a fun plan," he said, though there was an edge to his tone, as if he sensed her internal conflict. "Yeah, I haven't seen her in a while," Claire said, though her heart wasn't in it. She bit her lip, torn between the promise of a budding connection with Nathaniel and her loyalty to her friend. "Maybe you should go," he said, his voice even. "I wouldn't want to keep you from some much-needed girl time." Claire felt a pang of disappointment. "Well, maybe I can do both. Where do you want to go after this?" Nathaniel smiled, but something in his expression suggested disappointment. "Let us keep it simple today, just coffee and pastries, right? We can always plan for a big adventure another time." The air between them shifted, the warm glow dimming just slightly. Claire felt the weight of an unspoken tension settle over their table, a subtle misunderstanding that hung in the air, leaving her feeling uneasy. "Right, just coffee," she echoed, her voice barely above a whisper. The two shared another pastry, but Claire couldn't shake the feeling that the air had thickened with unfulfilled expectations. As they talked, she could see Nathaniel's playful demeanor flicker, the spark dimming as he shifted topics, now focusing more intently on her answers rather than their usual light-hearted banter. When she finally excused herself to the restroom, she took a moment to collect her thoughts. What had shifted? Had she misread the signs? The chemistry was palpable, yet here they were, caught between layers of unspoken words and misaligned intentions. Returning to the table, she resolved to bridge the gap. "Nathaniel," she began, her voice steady, I didn't mean to imply that I didn't want to spend time with you. I just did. I know, he interrupted, a softening in his expression. I just didn't want to distract you from your life. You know, I am not asking you to drop everything for me. But I want to, she admitted, the honesty spilling out before she could stop herself. But I am also trying to balance everything. It is complicated. Nathaniel nodded, his gaze probing. Complicated? Huh, I get that. His eyes held her steadily, and Claire felt the weight of the moment. So, what do you want? She asked. Nathaniel leaned back in his chair, his expression shifting as he contemplated her question. His blue eyes sparkled with a mix of vulnerability and determination, and Claire felt her heart race in anticipation. What do I want? He echoed, a soft smile playing on his lips. I want to understand you, he said finally, his voice low and steady, yet tinged with something deeper. I want to know what makes you laugh, what keeps you up at night. I want to figure out how I fit into your world. The sincerity of his words struck Claire like a bolt of lightning. She had expected witty banter or flirty retort, not this genuine inquiry that seemed to peel back the layers of both their defenses. Her heart fluttered, excitement and trepidation flooding her senses. She began, her voice faltering. I guess that's the tricky part. I've built my life around routines, and opening myself up to new connections is daunting. Nathaniel nodded, his expression thoughtful. I get that. I am not here to disrupt your life, Claire. I just thought maybe you'd consider letting me in. The weight of his gaze held her captive, and Claire's heart raced at the thought. I want to let you in, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But I am terrified of what might happen after. His smile widened, showcasing the confidence that had drawn her to him in the first place. Life is about taking risks, isn't it? Sometimes you stumble, sometimes you soar, but the thrill is in the journey. She couldn't help but smile back, feeling the spark reignite between them. You make it sound so easy. Easy? No. Worth it. Absolutely, he replied, his gaze unwavering. And I promise, I am not just some guy looking for a fleeting connection. I am interested in knowing the real you. Claire felt a warmth spread through her, fueled by his earnestness. She could see it in the way he leaned closer, the gentle way he brushed his hair back from his forehead. It was as if he could sense her struggle and was willing to stand beside her while she faced it. I appreciate that, she said, her voice soft. I really do. I just need time to figure it all out. He raised an eyebrow, a hint of mischief creeping back into his expression. Time, huh? So you were saying I need to charm you a little more? Claire laughed, the sound bubbling forth like a release. Charm me? That might take a while. He leaned forward, his eyes sparkling with playful challenge. I accept the challenge. I'll have you laughing and sharing your deepest secrets before you know it. Is that a promise? She asked, her heart racing at the thought of him unraveling her hidden layers. Consider it a goal, he said, his voice taking on a sultry tone that sent shivers down her spine. But for now, let us just enjoy ourselves. As they finished their coffee, the conversation flowed effortlessly, moving from life experiences to favorite books, each shared story intertwining their lives a little more. Claire felt herself relaxing, the tension from earlier dissipating like morning mist. Judy found herself laughing more than she had in months. As they discussed their favorite childhood memories, she found a kindred spirit in Nathaniel. The wall she had built around herself felt less formidable, even crumbling slightly under the weight of their connection. So, what was your childhood dream? He asked, his curiosity genuine. Claire paused, the question catching her off guard. I wanted to be a writer, she admitted, a hint of shyness creeping in. To weave stories that would transport people to other worlds. Why didn't you? He asked, leaning in, totally engaged. I got caught up in practicality, she replied, a bittersweet smile forming. Marketing was the sensible route, but I often wonder what it would have been like to chase that dream. That is a shame, Nathaniel said, his tone sympathetic. You have a way with words. I can see it in how you express yourself. Her cheeks flushed at the compliment, the sincerity behind it making her heart swell. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. Maybe you should give it another shot. Life is too short for regrets, Claire, he encouraged, his gaze intense, as if daring her to reach for her dreams again. Maybe, she said, feeling a flicker of hope. It's just scary to think about taking that leap. I'll be your safety net, he said, his voice steady. I'll catch you if you fall. The promise hung between them, a thread connecting their hopes and fears. Claire felt the walls of her heart shift, her doubts warring with the thrill of possibility. But just as their conversation shifted toward lighter topics, Claire's phone buzzed again, this time with a call. She glanced at the screen, her stomach sinking as she recognized Jen's number. Excuse me, she murmured, rising from her seat with a sense of dread. She stepped outside the cafe, the drizzle softly misting against her skin. Hey, Jenna, she answered, trying to mask her unease. Claire, I am so glad I caught you. I've been trying to reach you all day. Can you come over tonight? Janet's voice was filled with urgency, and Claire could hear the underlying excitement. Tonight? Claire asked, glancing back inside at Nathaniel, who was watching her with an expectant look. I am busy. Busy? Are you with that guy you've been texting? Jenna pressed, her voice tinged with teasing. It is not like that. Claire replied, biting her lip, her heart racing. The conversation about what she wanted flared to life, battling against her loyalty. We just having coffee. Just coffee. You've been texting all day, Claire. You're not fooling anyone, Jenna said, laughter bubbling through the line. You've got to come and tell me everything. Claire hesitated, torn between the affection for her friend and the undeniable connection growing with Nathaniel. ILLC, okay? I can just drop everything. Fine, but don't leave me hanging. Jenna laughed, and Claire hung up, feeling the weight of her friend's anticipation pressing down on her. When she returned to the table, Nathaniel raised an eyebrow. Everything okay? Claire nodded, but the inner turmoil was evident on her face. That was just my friend. I am torn between seeing her tonight and wanting to spend time with you. He studied her, and she could see the flicker of disappointment in his eyes. You should go if it is important to you, he said, his tone softer than before. I wouldn't want to keep you from your friend. But the way he said it made Claire feel like she was losing something precious. I want to be here with you, too, Nathaniel, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Then that is what matters, right? But I understand if you need to prioritize your friend. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes, and Claire felt a pang of regret. Can't we find a way to do both? She asked, desperation creeping in. Maybe I can meet my friend later? Nathaniel sighed, leaning back in his chair, an indecipherable expression crossing his face. Look, I appreciate that you want to make it work, but part of me wonders if I am just an escape for you. Maybe I am not what you need right now. His words hit her like a cold wave, washing away the warmth they had shared moments before. You're not just an escape, she insisted, feeling a knot tighten in her chest. I want to get to know you, but I am also trying to balance everything. Then maybe it is best to take a step back, he said, his tone even, but Claire saw the hurt lurking beneath the surface. You have your life, Claire. I don't want to complicate it further. No, Nathaniel, please, she pleaded, her voice quivering. I don't want to push you away. He looked away, the flicker of vulnerability momentarily exposed beneath his composed exterior. I just don't want to be a distraction. If you're meant to be with your friend tonight, I respect that. But I want to be here with you, she exclaimed, frustration bubbling over. Why can't you see that? His gaze snapped back to hers, the intensity of the moment palpable. Then let us not waste this opportunity, Claire, but if you are still tied up with other things, then maybe it is better to just end this here. The words hung heavy in the air, and Claire felt her heart constrict at the thought of losing this unexpected connection. I don't want to lose you. Then choose, he said quietly. Choose what you want. The tension between them crackled like electricity, and Claire's breath caught in her throat. The clock was ticking, and the weight of their burgeoning connection pressed down on her. She wanted to bridge the gap, wanted to reach across the table and tell him that he mattered. I want you, she finally admitted, her voice trembling with emotion. But I also want to be there for my friend. Can't we just take it one step at a time? Nathaniel looked at Claire, his blue eyes searching her face, gauging her sincerity. The moments stretched between them, filled with the raw intensity that both thrilled and terrified her. He was so close, the warmth of his presence wrapping around her like a blanket, yet the uncertainty hung in the air. I want to understand you, he finally said, his voice steady but leaden with unspoken feelings. But I can't be the reason you neglect your friendships. You have to figure out what is truly important to you. Why does it have to be one or the other? Claire asked, her voice soft but insistent. Why can't we explore this connection while also maintaining the friendships that matter to us? He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms as if to shield himself from the emotional vulnerability that hung between them. Because when you're with me, I want you to be all in. Half-hearted connections don't interest me. Claire felt a pang of frustration. The very thing that had drawn her to Nathaniel, the intensity of his nature, was now the wall standing between them. I am not trying to be half-hearted, I promise, she exclaimed, leaning forward, desperate to bridge the divide. The sever approached, breaking their moment. Can I get you anything else? She asked, glancing between them. Just the check, please, Nathaniel replied, his tone clipped. When the server disappeared, Claire swallowed hard, her heart racing. I've been a bit of a hermit since my breakup. I am trying to navigate this new world while figuring out who I am now. It is complicated. Claire, I get that, Nathaniel said, his tone softening. But you can keep holding on to everything. That includes me. What if I don't want to lose you? She pressed, her voice trembling with the weight of her admission. What if I want to explore more? Then let us explore, but let us not do it while you're still tethered to your past, he said, his lips curling into a teasing smile that didn't reach his eyes. We can meet again after tonight. I'll wait. The thought sent a wave of relief crashing over her, but it was quickly followed by an annoying sense of uncertainty. You'll wait? She echoed, disbelief coloring her voice. Why would you do that? Because I am intrigued, he replied, rolling his shoulders back, a spark of confidence returning. And because I think there is more to you than what you've shown so far. I want to see it unfold. His words wrapped around her like a warm embrace, igniting an ember of hope within her. Okay, then, let us do this, she declared, feeling a surge of determination. But I want to make sure I don't lose you in the process. He smiled at her, the warmth of the moment returning. You won't lose me, Claire. I promise I am not going anywhere. The tension in the air began to dissipate, the possibility of a new adventure washing over them like the gentle drizzle outside. Now, Nathaniel said, leaning forward, let us talk about something fun. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? Superpower? Claire mused, her fingers tapping the table absent-mindedly. I think I want the ability to fly. Can you imagine soaring above the city? His eyes sparkled with amusement, and she could see the easy charm return. That is a classic. But a good one. You'd be a bird free as a feather. What would you do up there? Claire chuckled, leaning in as she envisioned it. I'd swoop down to surprise people, maybe drop a cupcake on my worst enemy's head. Nathaniel laughed aloud, and the sound lit up the space between them. Now that is a superpower I can get behind, but cupcakes are a bit messy. What if they reach chocolate? That could lead to a whole different level of chaos. Exactly. Claire grinned, enjoying the playful banter. And then I'd fly back up into the clouds, watching the chaos unfold. Just make sure you don't get stuck in a thunderstorm, he warned, his tone teasing. I am guessing that would ruin the adventure. The rapport between them felt renewed, the earlier tension melting like ice beneath the sun. But as they finished their coffees, the reality of the evening ahead loomed in Claire's mind. Are you sure you're okay with me leaving? She asked, her voice faltering slightly. I don't want to seem like I am prioritizing my friend over you. Nathaniel smirked, his eyes softening. You're not prioritizing anything over me. You're just making sure you're fully engaged in your life. That is important. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing against hers, as she felt a jolt of electricity course through her. I'll be right here when you're ready to dive in deeper. She nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude. Thank you for being so understanding. I really appreciate it. Just promise me one thing, he said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. When you out with your friend, don't forget to keep a little time for your own adventures too. I promise, she replied earnestly, squeezing his hand before pulling back, loss settling into the space between them again. But I'll need a partner for that. Count me in, he winked as the server returned with their bill. As Claire paid, she felt Nathaniel's gaze on her, warm and encouraging. She caught herself smiling back, feeling as though a new chapter was beginning to unfold. What if I want to explore the city after tonight? She asked, trying to keep the momentum alive. Then we'll go on a spontaneous adventure, he replied, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. Let us put our superpowers to the test. They stood up, brushing off the remnants of their pastries and laughter. As they walked out into the light drizzle, Claire felt a thrill of excitement spark within her. You know, I was afraid today would be just another monotonous day. I am so glad I took a chance. Nathaniel turned to her, his expression earnest. Life is too short to stick to routines, Claire. It is about moments like these where laughter meets the possibility of something deeper. Their eyes locked, and in that moment she felt the world around them fade into the background. He took a step closer, the air thick with anticipation, and she could feel the pull between them intensifying. I'll text you later, alright? He said, his voice low and teasing. If you don't hear from me, just know I am plotting our next escapade. A deal, Claire said, her heart racing, a promise hanging in the air. Just don't forget to bring the cupcakes. They shed a laugh, But as they turned to go their separate ways, Claire felt the weight settle in her chest once more. The thrill of new possibilities was exhilarating, but so were the uncertainties that lay ahead. As she walked away, her phone buzzed again. It was Jenna, reminding her of their plans. Claire hesitated, but then her thoughts shifted back to Nathaniel. The laughter, the connection, it was too precious to ignore. "I am choosing this," she whispered to herself, her heart resolute. She glanced back over her shoulder, half expecting Nathaniel to be watching. He was leaning against the calf wall, a playful smirk on his face. The spark in his eyes told her that their adventure was far from over. With newfound determination, Claire turned and headed toward her friend, ready to embrace the complexities of her life. After all, she was learning to navigate her own path, and for the first time in a long while, the journey felt promising. But one thing was certain, she would be returning to Nathaniel, and the unpredictability of what lay ahead filled her with a sense of joy and anticipation.